Coaches, welcome to this coffee break episode of Inside the Coaches Room, where we look back at great moments with our guests.
The one interesting one that comes up a lot in regards to how much detail you go into and right and wrong way is actually with goalkeepers. And then and a funny one that comes up a lot is people talk about details that goalkeepers get now for penalties. Mm-hmm. And it's quite interesting that you can do research after research, but then found out that, and I've had players that have asked the same. Sometimes you get the penalty taker is asking for detail on where the goalkeeper normally dives on a different type of penalty.
Yeah.
So if the goalkeeper is looking at where the striker puts the ball and the striker is looking at where the goalkeeper is diving, at what point does the correlation move?
Who breaks first? Yeah.
So there's interesting ones with that and different ways of doing it, looking at also in terms of how you do diagrams, for example, things like on a tactics board now, is it better to do it digitally or is it better the old school way of feeling?
Yeah.
Is it better to have the players on the tactics board that are, you can see the orientation of the body so you can coach them? So there's so many questions you can ask, and I think a lot of it comes down to coach preference. Excuse me.
You mean from the player, which way he is coached the best? So that's what you mean with coach preference, yeah.
Yeah, an individual, because the coach may have a certain preference to coach in a certain way, an analyst may have a certain way in which they work, but actually that's useless unless you know it gets through to the player.
Yeah.
So they're questions that we ask a lot. Actually, it comes up a lot in terms of different methods. That we try to make sure that we are adaptable as well, as much as the players are adaptable to systems and formations. We have to be to the player so we can get that message across.
Would that also, what would be the main thing for coaches to pick up on this? Because you're looking maybe a little bit from an analysis point of view, but you are right in there in the middle of the staff, and especially tactic wise, playing style, everything is there connected fully. But is being clear as a coach one of the most important traits to have?
I think so, because I think ultimately the players, if you're clear in your communication and you know the principles so strongly, the players believe in it more. And as soon as the players believe in it and there's more enthusiasm into it, the adaptation into learning and adapting that on the grass is quicker. So for me is a really big thing. I think communication, being clear, and also on national teams, if it's the same with clubs really, but because you don't get that time, you have to be in many ways even clearer, because you have to make the most of that 15-20 minutes tactical time you get. And the questions that come for it, naturally, it seems you sit in meetings before and play, everybody clear, everybody okay, and the players go,
yeah. They don't want to be the player that says no.
Exactly. And then 1 hour later, you get the question, or you get them the next day in the coaching, in the session, they do it a little bit wrong maybe, and then you go, okay, but you're asked to do this, and the player goes, oh, and even though they're nodding, you still it take 1 or 2 times. So, and this is the reason why we'd made those open feeling meetings, that not meetings of you go into them going, oh, we're going to get told we're doing wrong again and again and again. It's to make it so that they feel they can ask the question, or we can give them the information. Now, don't get me wrong. If the information is really important and they've not quite got it 3-4 times, 2-3 times, it's one of them where we might go, hey, come on, you have to. But generally, we try and make it so it's a learning environment that it carries over whatever age the player is. They want to be there. It's not a meeting room to go and get battered.
That really changed, I think, right? Maybe even 10 years ago, the narrative of a meeting with players was sending from the coach, receiving and nodding for the players. That was the way coaching went down. But now it is changed. It's much more equal playing field, and coaches, and I think, especially maybe in the Western football culture, we tend to realize, okay, we have to do this together instead of sending it to the player. My feeling is that it really changed fast.
I agree. I agree completely. I think the big question that we tried to ask, and I've heard many coaches before, is how do you know what the players know? How do you know what the players understand? And it's ways of finding out. And I suppose it's like teaching. It's common sense that by getting at schools, you can get kids to do an exam. You can't ask the players to do an exam. Their exam is the game.
Yeah.
And 90 minutes, the game's over. You have to do something. So by having these creative ways in meetings of players to sometimes stand at the front and deliver themselves or ask the questions themselves.
So even with the national team, the player you come to the tactics board, show me what your solution would be.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, great.
And I think that's the case of all our age group teams. It's I think it's important. I mean, at City's Academy, I was exposed to it quite quickly. Was players at under 12, 13 is coming up and presenting.
Yeah.
But it might be sometimes that the players they can get up now. We have the pitch on the floor in the meeting room, and they're coming
not
up
your room.
The
it's the room of the group, so they can do whatever they think is right as well. It's not your rules, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we found it where we got to the end of a team meeting and the players have gone, can we just have 10 minutes, players only? Yeah, no worries. Cool. It's your room, as you say. So it's, and we've gone on a coffee, and 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes later, the players have come out and gone in and feeling good and maybe had big discussions, but at the same time then gone into the food and the meeting and taking a coffee. And it's football. I suppose it's just talking about football like every day, like we are, but they're doing it. So it's nice that they feel it and talk about it amongst themselves also.
They take the ownership and they're not afraid. There's no boundary anymore to be involved.